Starfield became the first casualty of a phenomenon called Baldur's Gate 3, at least for me. What I mean is that throughout my playthrough, I couldn't help but observe Starfield through the lens of Larian Studios' design philosophy. Yeah, I'm fully aware that these are two entirely different RPGs. One features classes, turn-based combat, and a fantasy setting with party dynamics, while the other is a space-themed action RPG that emphasizes skill-based gameplay and can be played in either the first or third person. But despite these major differences, both games share the same goal: to offer a high-quality and a modern role-playing experience within a vividly crafted fictional world through adept storytelling. If there are shortcomings in these crucial elements, setting and narrative, players might find it challenging to forge a meaningful connection with the game. I consider myself extremely fortunate because fantasy and space are my two favorite settings, whether in books, movies, or video games. Therefore, I was really happy that 2023 would bring the releases of these two highly anticipated games, Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield. Even though I am a big fan of D&D, I have never had the opportunity to play it properly for various reasons. Thus, Baldur's Gate 3 proved to be a suitable alternative to the tabletop version, both for me and many others who are in a similar position. If you are a regular player of traditional D&D and have also played Baldur's Gate 3, feel free to share your impressions in the comments below. On the other hand, I hope that Starfield would be Bethesda's long-awaited redemption and a return to the glory days after the Fallout 76 debacle. The fact that the game was set in a completely new environment where Bethesda had no prior experience, I viewed as a positive thing because I had hoped that Bethesda would unleash their imagination and bring a breath of fresh air to the genre. But that's not what happened. After playing both games, it becomes apparent how the developers had radically different visions of creating an engaging world for players. Take, for example, Baldur's Gate 3. Larian Studios breathed life into a piece of the Forgotten Realms in the most beautiful way possible. Every corner of this fantasy world is meticulously handcrafted to the finest details. Each location is carefully thought out, establishing a harmonious blend between your character and its surroundings. If you show any screenshot from the game to most fans, it's almost guaranteed that they can instantly recognize which act it's from and precisely locate that place. This demonstrates that the team behind the creation of this incredible world fully recognized the importance of the task at hand. In Baldur's Gate 3, there are no repeated locations, be it dungeons or houses, ensuring a unique and diverse exploration experience. At times, it may feel as though there's an overwhelming amount to discover, which honestly is not far from the truth. If you want to see every hidden area of the map, every basement, and every room, you'll have to spend a lot of time exploring this incredible world. Luckily, Faerun has proven to be a captivating and intricately detailed setting, transforming exploration into a truly engaging and rewarding activity. On the other hand, Bethesda chose the space theme for its entirely new IP, which, in my opinion, proved to be a cardinal mistake, despite my personal excitement for another game featuring one of my favorite themes. Let me explain. In my experience, portraying the space in video games is challenging if you want to satisfy the preferences of the majority. In today's gaming world, people expect certain features found in some of the most popular space-themed games, such as free exploration of the solar system, seamless transitions from space to celestial bodies, atmospheric flight, etc. However, for a variety of reasons, it is not always possible to meet these demands, and developers are in those cases forced to resort to certain compromises and programming tricks in order to realize their vision and finish the game. This is a perfectly valid course of action, by the way, and it is exactly what happened with Starfield. But for reasons known only to Bethesda, they went a bit overboard with these limitations in the Starfield universe. Instead of the promised unparalleled exploration, we were given a world made up of countless individual procedurally generated maps, accompanied by numerous loading screens in between, making this an awful replacement for what we've come to expect from Bethesda. Aside from the sense of incoherence caused by the partitioned world, the content that unfolds before your eyes after loading a specific map consists of either simple scanning and harvesting of endlessly repetitive flora and fauna, or a tedious run to a point of interest that you've seen a million times before. Regardless of your landing site, on a planet or moon, you will always encounter familiar scenery, such as human-made structures, plants, or animals. Instead of the challenges of landing on diverse astronomical bodies and dealing with the harsh conditions that should exist there, we received an extremely sterile and very safe environment, in which the only danger is going AFK outside the spaceship while being attacked by a copy-pasted enemy. Even pockets of civilization appear utopianly dull. Unique and unforgettable locations to marvel at and share with other players are replaced by a slew of similarly looking instance maps that you forget as soon as they are unloaded from the system memory. As for the space itself, instead of free interplanetary travel between celestial bodies and discoveries of deep space mysteries, our spaceship, which we spent a lot of time customizing to our needs, is limited to flying only within the confines of this incredibly small bubble found in an astronomical body's orbit. And this instance space bubble is always composed of a simple random encounter or a space station set against a small asteroid field or scattered debris. And that's it. For a game marketed as an RPG set in space, Starfield falls short in providing players with meaningful options. Given that, at least for me, the best part of Starfield is the ship customization and the fact that ships are only allowed to freely roam in this small portion of the available space, you can probably guess what my most ironic gaming moment of 2023 was. Due to all of these factors, I believe the space setting for Bethesda was too much to handle, where their inexperience in this field and mismanaged player expectations came to the forefront. They could have been among the first ones to successfully merge the mechanics of space simulation and modern RPG at the highest level. Instead, we saw the creation of an easily forgettable world that is difficult to connect into a meaningful whole, even for those with the most vivid imagination. For me, storytelling is another crucial aspect of single-player RPGs. The main plot, dialogues, and character interactions play vital roles in shaping the game's narrative. Achieving a genuine sense of immersion in a fictional world becomes challenging without the seamless transfer of quality storytelling and the establishment of emotional connections through characters. Unless you are From Software, with its unique approach to delivering compelling story beats. To be completely honest, the main plot in Baldur's Gate 3 did not rock my world or leave me with my jaw dropped, but it did have a certain charm that inspired me to finish the game 4 times, something I had never done before. Larian Studios was able to orchestrate a classic fantasy tale of saving the world from an unimaginable threat, wrapped in an epic adventure with high stakes and interwoven with extraordinary events, forcing players to make decisions based on their own moral principles. One aspect that particularly struck me was how the game elegantly balances the concepts of good and evil. Without spoiling anything, an early example in the game illustrates a highly tense situation among companions. And what may initially seem like a good and rational decision to resolve said situation in one playthrough could prove to be the opposite in the next, depending on the chosen approach to the problem. Gauging the situation from various perspectives provides a more comprehensive understanding of the righteousness of your actions. The emergence of this moral spectrum, painted in shades of gray, serves as a compelling motivator for players to embark on multiple playthroughs, thereby infusing the overall gaming experience with added depth and complexity. But what really drew me in was the extraordinary freedom of choice offered throughout the game, along with the profound impact of the consequences of your actions. At the time of creating this video, Baldur's Gate 3 has one of the most complex branching narratives in the modern gaming market. Nothing compares to the massive spiderweb of variations and permutations you'll encounter along your legendary journey with companions. The consequences of your actions in Baldur's Gate 3 will follow you from the very beginning to the end of the game. You'll be constantly confronted with conflicting situations that can be resolved in a variety of ways, including combat, interaction with the environment, and conversations with key characters. Speaking of conversations, Baldur's Gate 3's dialogues are another strong point, executed exceptionally well for the most part. They sound natural and are appropriate for the current situation. The exchange between vivid characters and the player is handled superbly, something you'll appreciate more as you play.
I can't find my mum. But, I don't know where to go.
Harsh. Not the family type then, I take it.
Sure, the rhythm and quality of the story may fluctuate from time to time, but the overall storytelling and smooth interactions with memorable characters create an unforgettable experience. In contrast to Starfield. One of the things that have always fascinated me is the almost universal attitude of Bethesda fans toward the main story in their favorite games. Whenever this context is brought up, the response is often something like, well, Bethesda was never known for quality stories, so it's not a big deal. Okay, but why is this the case? Why is it considered normal to dismiss this important aspect of a video game right away if it's a Bethesda game in question? Have our brains truly been conditioned by years and years of bad writing to the point where we don't care? To keep it short, the main plot in Starfield lacks any tension or conflicts. The stakes aren't high enough, and the narrative doesn't provide a clear and conclusive outcome to the questions presented throughout the plot. I mean, the story is relatively interesting at the beginning, but halfway through, you realize it's just a disguised, boring fetch quest spiced with a few cheap tricks along the way and a lazy ending that has been overused in mainstream media lately. In my opinion, failing to deliver good storytelling in a single-player RPG is a huge mistake. I believe storytelling is a crucial factor that should resonate throughout the entire game and permeate all its systems. A compelling narrative glues everything together and gives your actions a deeper meaning as you progress toward the ultimate goal. The way I see it, and it seems many others too, Bethesda has leaned too heavily on basic and safe approaches in the writing of Starfield. I'm not sure if this is done to cover the largest market possible, but they've done more harm than good in doing so. Most of your actions in the game, except in a few key moments during some of the biggest and most important quests, don't make any sort of difference and don't cause serious consequences that could be reflected and seen in the world around you. For example, you can be a member of every faction regardless of their mutual conflicts. You can freely walk past law enforcement with weapons in hand, NPCs don't remember you when you revisit them, and you can certainly forget about a proper evil playthrough because the writing doesn't allow it. Honestly, this philosophy eventually leads to a state of apathy, causing players to lose interest in what's happening around them and ultimately prompting them to abandon the game altogether. It is one of those invisible aspects of the game when players feel something is wrong but can't quite put their finger on it. The situation is further exacerbated by poorly realized dialogues. Characters often state the obvious and express their opinions and feelings quite clumsily. In essence, the emotional transfer toward the player has completely failed. There's no mystery in conversations, no subtlety, and NPCs sometimes lack a sense of seriousness in a given situation. Dialogues are frequently rudimentary, and you get the feeling that they are forced. In summary, the player typically doesn't derive significant depth from conversations with other characters. Starfield is another in a series of Bethesda games that places the narrative in the background. And while this approach might have succeeded in their earlier games, which boasted fantastic and unforgettable worlds that beckon you to explore them, Starfield feels like a collection of superficial and unfinished systems in a disconnected world divided by numerous loading screens. In this video, I haven't compared other aspects of both games, such as different game mechanics and systems, and this is because these two RPGs differ too much in those areas. One-to-one comparisons in this case can be quite manipulative, and that's why I didn't want to delve into that rabbit hole. However, as mentioned at the beginning, a well-crafted world in which the game is set and a good narrative conveyed to the player through interesting characters are the foundations on which a single-player RPG of AAA rating should rest. And precisely because of the inherent problems with these two foundations, Starfield found itself under the veil of mediocrity, leaving Bethesda to face challenges ahead. Did the masterpiece called Baldur's Gate 3 open my eyes and show me how a well-designed RPG can provide the highest level of entertainment, making Starfield the first big target for critical analysis and direct comparisons between the two? Or has the outdated and stale formula that Bethesda has been pushing for decades finally collapsed, leading to this fateful tipping point where I await The Elder Scrolls VI with lukewarm interest? I have no reason to doubt that the developers working on Starfield had the best intentions and that the game in their minds looked much better than what we received. However, only the leading figures at Bethesda know where and when the gap between desires and possibilities formed, and if those are the reasons for such a middling reception of the game. One thing is certain though, players worldwide have once again been reminded of how a focused approach, tons of effort, and an understanding of their needs can result in a wondrous symphony of a well-structured world, beautiful storytelling, top-notch gameplay, and pure, unadulterated fun. My wish for a rich and unforgettable fantasy setting has been fulfilled thanks to Baldur's Gate 3, while the quest for an equally enchanting and comprehensive game with a space theme continues. In the end, I wish for every player to experience a future filled with feature-complete games like Baldur's Gate 3, while simultaneously hoping for Bethesda to awaken from the post-Skyrim slumber and recognize the need to evolve beyond an outdated formula. These are just my thoughts about two important aspects these games have in common. If you have anything to add, whether you agree with me or you think I missed the point, please post it in the comments section below. Also, if you found the video interesting in any way, don't forget to click the like button, and if you really loved it, maybe consider subscribing and watching a few other videos as well. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.